Hey pipe smokers, I'm back again for another tobacco review, and today I'm going to be reviewing Dunhill Elizabethan mixture. Let me go ahead and read the tin description. Elizabethan mixture, a rich flavored blend of fine and dark Virginia tobaccos with a touch of Louisiana Perique for added zest. Okay, before I get into the review, let's go ahead and take a quick look at this blend up close. Okay, here's a look at the tin. Let's take a peek inside. And there you go. As you can see, very fine ribbons, sort of borderline shag cut almost. Okay, now, before I get into the tasting notes, I'd like to discuss two things briefly. Number one is the topping. Now, while I can't necessarily pick out any overt sort of toppings or casings here, I would not be surprised if there's perhaps a touch of added sweetness or added flavoring. One way or the other, this is an overwhelmingly natural tasting blend. Also, I'd like to discuss the cut. As we could see in the close-up, this is a very, very fine cut tobacco, what I would consider a borderline shag. And I very, very much like that. I'm a big fan of shag cut tobaccos. I like the versatility, the ease of use, the convenience. I also like some of the unique sort of flavors that one can find only really in shag cut tobaccos. Unfortunately, we are left a little bit wanting, I believe, in the pipe community, as oftentimes the choices that we have among shag cut or near shag cut tobaccos are fairly simple and lack a little bit of complexity. Although some of them are quite good, and I do indeed enjoy them. I would like to see a little bit of a wider variety in the future, and that's one reason I'm very, very glad that they brought this one back to market here in the States. Okay, let's talk about the tasting notes. Now, we've got the three major components of this blend: the bright Virginias, the dark Virginias, and the Perique. Now, I find the bright Virginias come through as a distinct flavor element only very, very early on in the bowl. We're talking perhaps the first quarter of the first third. After that, they retreat into the background, and really what I think they do in this blend is add a little bit of a different kind of sweetness without necessarily a distinct flavor. They add that extra sweetness to the main component of this blend, which is certainly the dark Virginias, which are very, very nice. They are of the refined sort of Virginias that I personally prefer. They've got a very malty kind of sweetness that I wouldn't hesitate to compare to the kind of malty sweetness that I find in a blend like Capstan Blue Flake. So it's very, very nice. I've reviewed Capstan Blue in the past. You can check it out on my channel. And like I said, I wouldn't hesitate to compare the sweetness of both of these blends. And I think that that kind of malty as well as refined flavor is one that I find that's very much unique, particularly in a VaPer blend. Now, the Perique early on in the bowl is, it does display light fruity notes, so your typical dark fruit notes that you find in Perique, like figs and raisins and prunes and that type of thing. And it's also got its characteristic spiciness. Now, as we progress to the mid part of the bowl, as I said earlier, those bright Virginia notes retreat to the background. The Perique, while not necessarily becoming monotonous, it sort of simplifies at this point of the smoke. And really what it displays is the spiciness, the spicy flavor, the spicy kind of mouthfeel that you find oftentimes with Perique. while the dark Virginias really take over the blend and really just demonstrate that wonderful malty sweetness, those some sort of lightly fruity, refined notes that I look for in my favorite Virginia blends, and just a very consistent and solid flavor, and a sweetness that really comes to you. You don't have to search this one out, or at least I don't. I find that it's very, very accessible and very easy smoking. Now, that progresses through the entire part, the middle part of the bowl, in my experience. And then when I reach the end of the bowl, or what I should say is the final third of the bowl, things start to open back up a little bit. And the spiciness sort of subsides a little bit from the Perique notes, and in their place comes what I sort of interpret as an overwhelmingly raisin type flavor, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And it sort of reminds me of Esoterica's Dunbar, which is one of my favorite vapors when I look forward to reviewing in the future. And I really, really love that note. The dark Virginias add, once again, a base of that malty sweetness for some of those raisin-like notes to sort of play on and kind of mix with a little bit. And it also picks up strength and boldness as this pipe sort of comes to its conclusion. It's very, very sweet. It's raisiny. It's got a very actually distinct sort of raisin bread-like character towards the end, and it's very easy smoking, and it's really quite wonderful. A really wonderful finish for what I think is an absolutely wonderful blend. And let's talk now about the strength. I find that the strength here is high side of medium, maybe medium to strong. Once again, this is a shag cut tobacco, so you want to be a little bit careful with how you smoke it. Quick smoking will lead to a sort of flat and monotonous smoke. Although I do find that even when it does turn flat, it's still got an okay flavor. So it's okay from time to time to sort of, lose attention a little bit. It's not going to really punish you that bad. But it will burn fast, it will burn hot, it might give you a little bit of fatigue. And the strength might hit you really, really hard if you're not careful. Because of the cut, it will burn fast. It's got a good amount of nicotine present in the mixture, and like I said, if you smoke it too fast, you might get a nice wallop of nicotine. Now the smokability, I think I just spoke a little bit about the smokability, but let me do it again. I find that this is a very smokable blend, very smokable. I did not age my tin whatsoever. I cracked it open, I got going, and I find that I do like to dry it out just a tad, but if I'm being conscientious, and I usually am, I can pack this one straight from the tin, no drying, and without any issues whatsoever. Now, let me go ahead and give this one a final score. This is not necessarily a complex blend. This is not necessarily a over-the-top sort of super vibrant type of blend. But I think it's an absolutely extraordinary blend, and I love it. I love the flavors it brings. I love the raisin notes that I get from the Perique. I love, love, love that malty sweetness from those dark Virginias, and I like that little bit of sort of very much background sort of thing going on with the brights. I think this really brings a wonderful flavor, wonderful sort of ease of use, and I just love it. I can't wait to cellar this one up. I'm gonna just try to stack tins as high as I possibly can of this blend because I really like it and I really like the affordability. So my final score for Dunhill Elizabethan mixture is 8.9 out of 10. That's a very, very high score. If you compare it to past scores, you'll find that it's amongst the highest scores I've given a tobacco yet. And I don't do that lightly. I really, really like this blend, and I would not hesitate to go ahead and say to any of you who enjoy vapor blend, enjoy Virginia blends, enjoy sweet blends, go ahead and give this one a shot. You just might like it as much as I do. Well, I think that about wraps things up. I would like to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you're all doing really, really well out there, enjoying your pipes and tobaccos. And as always, until next time, take it easy, everybody.